You know, if you work anywhere near an excavation, understanding the soil you're standing on, well, it's pretty much the single most important thing for your safety. In this explainer, we're going to break down the critical knowledge that literally stands between you and a potential trench collapse.
So, just to put this into perspective, get this number in your head. A single cubic yard of soil, we're talking a little 3 foot by 3 foot cube, can weigh up to 3,000 pounds. That's the same as a small car. Now, just for a second, imagine that much weight hitting you.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? A collapse doesn't give you a heads up. It happens in less than a second. Your survival, it all comes down to answering one question before you ever get in that trench. And the scary part is, most workers can't fully answer it. After this, you will.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to dig into why soil type even matters so much. Then, we'll walk you through OSHA's 3 main soil types, A, B, and C. And we'll wrap up with the 2 super simple, hands-on tests that you absolutely have to know to figure this stuff out in the field.
So let's start with the big why. It's so easy to look at the side of a trench and think, yeah, that's solid ground, but it's not. Soil is this crazy mix of little particles, water, and air gaps, and its ability to just stay put can change in a heartbeat, which is exactly what makes it so dangerous. The type of soil you're in dictates everything about how you need to protect that trench.
And look, OSHA's rules on this are about as clear as it gets. Any trench, any excavation deeper than 5 feet requires a protective system, period. No exceptions. That means you're either sloping the walls, shoring them up, or using a shield like a trench box. And, most importantly, a trained, competent person has to be there to classify the soil on every single job.
All right, let's dive into the soil types, starting with the big one, Type A. This is the best case scenario, the most stable soil you could hope to find. It's cohesive, which just means it likes to stick together. But, and trust me, this is a huge but, very, very few soils actually make the cut for Type A.
So the official technical term for Type A is that it has an unconfined compressive strength, or UCS, of at least 1.5 tons per square foot. Okay, what does that actually mean? It just means you could put 1.5 tons of pressure on a 1 foot square of that soil before it would even think about breaking. It's really just a fancy way of saying how strong it is.
So what are we talking about in the real world? Well, think of really hard, cohesive clays, maybe some cemented soils like caliche or hardpan. This is the kind of stuff that when you dig out a clump, it holds its shape. It doesn't just crumble in your hand, it feels solid.
But listen up, because this is where a lot of people make a dangerous mistake. Even if that soil feels like a rock and passes all the strength tests, it is absolutely 100% not Type A if certain conditions exist. And these right here are the non-negotiable deal breakers. You see cracks or fissures in that trench wall, it's not Type A. Got heavy equipment or traffic rumbling nearby causing vibrations, it's automatically downgraded. Has the soil ever been dug up before, even if it was 10 years ago, it's not Type A. And if you see even a little bit of water seeping through it, forget it. Any one of these, and you have to treat it like a much weaker soil.
Which naturally brings us to Type B soil. Think of this as your middle-of-the-road category. It's still pretty cohesive, but it's just not as strong or as trustworthy as a true Type A. Honestly, a huge chunk of the soil you're going to run into on a job site will fall right into this category.
Technically speaking, Type B soil has a compressive strength that's more than half a ton per square foot, but less than the 1.5 tons per square foot that you need for Type A. It's a really clearly defined middle ground.
So, Type B can be things like angular gravel, silt, or different kinds of loam. But here's the really important part. This category also covers any soil that would have been Type A, but it's been disturbed. See, when you dig up soil and put it back, you destroy its natural structure. It might feel solid, but it's full of weak spots. So, that rock-hard clay in an area that was backfilled a year ago, guess what? That's Type B now.
Okay, now for Type C. And I want to be really clear here. This is the least stable, most hazardous soil you can possibly find yourself in. This is the stuff that kills people because it's just so unpredictable.
Yeah, the strength rating for Type C is basically half a ton per square foot or even less. This is your granular stuff, think sand or gravel, where the particles just don't want to stick together. And remember this critical rule. Any soil, I don't care what type it is, if it has water seeping out of it, it is automatically, immediately classified as Type C.
And that is what makes it so terrifying. The more cohesive soils, they might crack or start to bulge, maybe give you a split-second warning. But granular, Type C soil, it doesn't do that. It can flow almost like water.
The trench wall can look perfectly fine 1 second and be completely gone the next. There is no warning.
So how does knowing all this actually keep you safe? Well, this table connects all the dots. It shows you the steepest you can slope a trench wall for anything under 20 feet deep. So for type A, for every foot you dig down, you have to go back 3/4 of a foot. For type B, it's simpler, 1-to-1. But now look at type C. For every single foot of depth, you have to slope it back 1.5 feet. Think about that for a sec. A simple 10-foot deep trench in type C soil means you have to slope it back 15 feet on each side. That's a 30-foot wide hole at the top.
Okay, now we're at the most important part. How do you, as the competent person on site, figure all this out? Look, OSHA doesn't expect you to have a PhD in geology. It just expects you to know a couple of simple, effective field tests. And we're going to walk through the 2 most common ones right now.
First up is the thumb penetration test. It's fast, it's easy, and it gives you a surprisingly accurate read on the soil's strength. You just grab a fresh, undisturbed clump of soil from the trench wall or the spoil pile, and you just try to press your thumb into it. And this right here shows you how to read the results. If you can barely make a dent and you're really pushing hard, it's probably type A. If your thumb sinks in about to the end of your thumbnail with a bit of effort, you're looking at type B. And if your thumb just sinks right in, easy as can be, all the way, that is type C, no question about it.
Okay, the second one is the plasticity test. Some people call it the ribbon test. This one tells you if the soil is cohesive, if it sticks together. You take a moist sample, roll it into a ball, and then you try to roll it out into a thin little thread between your fingers, kind of like you're making a snake out of Play-Doh. And here's the key. If you can form a little ribbon that's at least 2 inches long without it breaking, that means the soil has a lot of clay in it and it's cohesive. So it's a good candidate for type A or B. But if it just crumbles and falls apart while you're trying to roll it, then it's granular. Here's another quick check. If you squeeze a dry handful and it won't clump up at all, that's a dead giveaway. It's granular soil, which is always type C. So all of this brings us back to the one question that really matters. You've done your visual checks, you've done your manual tests, you've classified the soil. What now? Well, the entire point of this process leads to one thing: picking the right protective system. Whether that's sloping, shoring, or shielding, it's all about making sure everyone goes home safe at the end of the day.
Look, getting this right isn't optional. If you want to dive deeper into the specifics of protective systems, what it means to be a competent person, and other OSHA safety rules, make sure you subscribe to HSE Study. Stay informed, and most importantly, stay safe out there.